Hello, and welcome to This Week in Webseries. I am your host, Travis Gordon, and I have with me Chris Greenaway.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
Chris is sort of famous for doing Venus Spa, and he's now doing some different projects. What are you up to nowadays, Chris?
Well, I'm working on a bunch of things right now. I have a new mini-series I'm doing that's a silent movie parody. The first one's up on my new channel. It's called Silent But Deadly. And you can find it at youtube.com/superfunky2012. And that one's going to be ongoing. There's no set schedule. It's just going to be when we can get together and make them, because they're just so much fun to make with the costumes and all that.
Are you shooting them in Winnipeg?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
And, we got Prairie Dog Central for the sequel, which is an old-fashioned steam engine. And so we're going to do a train robbery. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Sure.
And we've also got some other stuff that I've been working on here and there. I have one called Catholic School Undercover, about a girl who's a pit fighter who is recruited to go undercover at a Catholic boarding school and kicks a lot of butt. Mm-hmm. And then I have some one-offs. Like I have one called the I Pill, which is a parody of birth control pills and iPhone apps.
Okay.
That was a lot of fun. I shot that one in Las Vegas. That one was a lot of fun.
Cool. Yeah, because you were saying that you go to Vegas to do shooting.
Yes, I have a place out there now, part-time, and I do try to get as much as I can shot there. I did a lot of steady cam shots last time I was out there, and a lot of mountains.
Cool. What type of Steadicam?
I have a homemade one. Mm-hmm. It's made of joints and plastic piping, and I can go get it if you want.
Sure. Is it far? Is it far away? It's not like.
It's in my room. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. So we've got an empty chair. I also have a do-it-yourself Steadicam, made of pipes, though. I think plastic is probably the best way to go. But now I finally I saved up and I bought a nice Steadicam.
Okay, here's what we got here.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's in pieces right now, so I have to get her back in place.
Oh, you got those designs online? I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. The online tutorials are the new, are literally the new film school.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot of information, lots of different topics.
Oh yeah.
I use mine was made of pipes. I'm thinking plastic's the best way to go because the pipes would kill me.
Well, the pipes are not only heavy, but you'll never get them across the border.
Right.
I may have put mine upside down.
I finally bit the bullet and bought a HD Glidecam 4000.
Ooh.
And I've got the crane arm with it, sort of in the vest, and I use that to shoot a lot of real estate properties and industrial videos.
Oh yeah.
But I used for years. I used just my DIY version of it. Oh, okay, and it just attaches in the center.
Yep. Yeah, what happens here is once you got that all attached, what you do is you pop the camera on it.
Okay.
And just put it on, like so.
And you're finding a big improvement in the video quality?
Oh, absolutely. It's basically what I'll do is I'm doing it more for car shots right now. That's been my current thing that I've been practicing, is putting it up on the dashboard and driving.
Sure.
And the result is being able to do the Miami Vice car shots that they did back in the 80s.
Cool.
And it's also good for walking shots, so you can literally walk the dog with it. Mm-hmm. And just have it hang low and just without the camera jiggling because it's screwed in.
Sure. So, I want to make one now. Now, what was the cost on that thing?
For me, well, here in Canada, our hardware stores are a bit more expensive than American hardware stores. So the tutorial that I found said you could do it for $5. It cost me about $20.
Yeah, the pipe one I think said it could be done for $40, and then it cost me like $65, I think.
Yikes. Yeah, because I got all this at Rona.
Okay.
with the screws and everything, and the spring. And it is spring loaded.
Oh wow!
So it absorbs shock a little bit.
Excellent. Cool.
So yeah, but it cost me about 20. I still have another pipe over in my storage closet, so I can make a second one if I need to, and that one will only cost about $5 because all I'll need are the screws, the spring, and the elbows.
What type of camera did you have there?
That's my Canon HD10 camcorder. This one, it's a few years old now. Actually, I've been using it since the beginning of Venus Spa, and it cost me about $600, but I got a $50 discount because it was an open box.
It's the HV10, is it?
HG10, yes.
Oh, HG10. Okay, I have the HV30. But yeah, I don't use that one as much nowadays. But
like I will use a 60D because I can get one to borrow once in a while. But I'm looking to upgrade the camera at some point. But I've been married to that one for 4 years now. It served me reasonably well.
Sure.
And the better I get at editing, the less that the camera is overly necessary.
Sure.
Like the silent films, I can do it because to give it that silent movie feel from the 1910s and 1920s, it has to look a little rough, and you actually have to rough up your camera or your shots anyway in post production to make it look like it's a film image from that era.
Sure, yeah.
So it's really a great, like a Red camera would not work for something like that because you'd rough up the visuals and it wouldn't look as good.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
I'd like a Red, just because it can shoot, I think, quite a few frames per second. I think it's like
$1,000 a day to rent out here.
What's that?
$1,000 a day to rent.
Really? Oh wow.
I'm like, no, it couldn't be that good. Right. Nothing's that good.
Now, what about the Scarlet?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay.
I'm not really familiar.
It's like 15,000. It's like 15 without the lens, but actually, that's the one I was talking about. Because it can shoot so many frames per second. It can shoot like I think like 1,000 frames per second or something. No, it couldn't be that much. 100 frames per second or something. At 720p, I think. But I could use that for my puppets.
Yeah. Well, for my camera, I can do 1080p.
Sure. Yeah.
So
the Scarlet can do. I think it's like a 4K camera. I think. But if you want really fast frame rate, then you have to like lower the resolution down to like 720p.
Oh.
But it can shoot it like incredible visuals.
Okay.
But we've got news, web series news that we should talk about. Now we haven't done a show in 6 months, so we thought it was time to do one.
Okay.
So, but let's start with any topics you'd like to discuss in the web series world.
Well, one thing that I've been noticing lately, this is actually something completely out of the usual realm of web series. In fact, it's a niche market that's really grown in the last little while, and it's a show called Creative Has Nothing For You. It stars Colt Cabana and comedian Marty DeRosa. Now, if you don't know who Colt Cabana is, he's probably one of the most popular independent wrestlers in the business right now. Indies are guys that don't work for WWE or TNA/Impact. Those are the two major wrestling promotions in North America. Now, if you're not with them, you're considered an independent, which means you go from promotion to promotion, be it Ring of Honor, be it $5 Wrestling, which is a new one that's become popular, or Combat Zone in Philadelphia, etc. Now this show, Creative, stars Colt Cabana, who created it with Marty, and he used to work for Vince McMahon a while back, and he was let go literally because Creative had nothing for him. Which means the creative is wrestling terminology for the writers, the guys in the back room deciding who wins matches, who's going to be champion, that sort of thing.
Storylines.
Pretty much. Yeah. And they didn't know what to do with them after a while. So usually what happens when they have nothing for you is you end up not being on television. So rather than pay guys to not be on TV, they usually get let go. And Vince let them go for that. So he came up with his own parody of the Inside of the Writing Room called Creative Is Nothing For You, which is about a minute-long sketch every Monday, which is great for wrestling fans because that's Monday Night Raw day. The series I was talking about, Colt Cabana and Marty DeRosa's Creative Has Nothing For You, which is a popular show on High Spots YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/highspots, HIGHSPOTS. High Spots, of course, is a wrestling video company that also specializes in merchandise. Like if you want championship belts from any promotion, you can get them through High Spots. Shoot interviews, which are off the cuff, out of character, no holds barred interviews with wrestlers. You can get those through High Spots. They do interviews, they do best ofs, defunct promotions, anything for the hardcore wrestling fan is where High Spots comes in. They've actually grown to be a rather sizable company, and they sponsor Creative Has Nothing For You, and its spin-off wrestling promotion parody called $5 Wrestling.
Okay.
And it's really interesting watching High Spots and Colt Cabana in a lot of ways revolutionizing the independent wrestling business just by being a parody of it more than anything else. And it's really interesting to follow them as they grow.
Now, how are they getting the word out? Do they have a website or?
Yeah, highspots.com is where most people go to buy stuff from High Spots.
But what about the show? How are they marketing their show?
Through the website and through their YouTube channel.
Okay.
I put clips of a shoot interview. If they got a new shoot with somebody that's in the business, they will promote it on High Spots.
Okay.
And you can buy their pay-per-views for $5 Wrestling when they happen on their YouTube channel. It's a rental. Just like...
Oh, wow.
Now, $5 may seem a little expensive in the app community, but in the wrestling business, it's a niche market that's so used to pay-per-view that it's a natural reaction is to buy the pay-per-view if they want to see it.
Sure.
Like, you get 2 free minutes of it on YouTube before the rental kicks in. And so fans get a chance to see who's on the card. Marty and Colt will do a funny intro, and which alone will be entertaining enough to want to buy the pay-per-view because they're doing the commentary.
How many matches do you get?
Hard to say. Like last Rumble and Rec Center had, I believe, 15 wrestlers in it, so I believe it was like 6 or 7 matches.
Okay.
It's about a 90-minute show.
Oh wow, for $5, that's not bad.
For commercial free, and it's a parody of wrestling, so you're going to get intentionally bad wrestling and intentionally bad promo.
Sure.
And Colt and Marty actually, if any of you have seen Mystery Science Theater 3000, you know where I'm going with this. Is Colt and Marty will have their backs turned and their heads and backs of their heads will be right in this screen, like where my finger is right here. That would be Colt sitting there next to Marty, and they will riff on the show. They will actually make fun of it while it's happening, instead of just doing a normal wrestling commentary, and which. No one has ever seen this before in a wrestling match before, at least like this. I mean, this is riff tracks, literally.
Sure.
What they're doing.
Well, it sounds cool. I might drop $5 to watch it.
It's different. Where else can you see something like this? I mean, Vince McMahon, he's got. If you want to see the highest end major leagues of wrestling, you're going to get it on Raw, or you're going to get it on his pay-per-views. The production values are in a class by themselves, but this is fun. It's just goofy. It's
So WWE is like a steak, and this sounds more like a hamburger, a cheeseburger,
or even fries, or even just a block of cheese.
But I like this because it's a successful business model. I think we can learn from that. I'm always looking for someone who's making money in the space.
It's branded.
Yep.
And it's fan-driven.
Sure, yeah.
So, High Spots probably pays for the wrestler's appearance fee, and the pay-per-view money probably pays for the rest.
Right.
And for High Spots, it's PR because High Spots' name gets mentioned semi-regularly. Their logo is on the canvas, and it's on the intros, and it's on their YouTube channel.
Okay.
So you're, even though they're not shoving the brand down your throat,
Yeah,
It's
you were
there.
saying that. Yeah, they mention it at the first, and then they don't really mention it after.
Yeah, but you're on their YouTube channel,
Yeah.
so you're going to high spots to see these guys.
Gotcha.
So they're promoting themselves without promoting themselves.
Sure. No, I like that. That's great. I'm gonna have to check it out more. You sent me a link and I watched it. I thought it was funny. It was like small, short sketch.
Yeah, sketch comedy. It's if you're a wrestling fan, you probably understand some of the terminologies a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a casual wrestling fan or just want to see something funny, there's still enough funny there for the average person to check it out and not have to be a wrestling fan.
Right.
So it definitely has its appeal, and Colt is a very funny guy, a very entertaining. I mean, he's what might have been if Bugs Bunny was a professional wrestler.
Sure.
He's very exaggerated. He always that's kind of his personality. He's the alter ego of CM Punk, who's ultra serious in WWE. This guy is ultra goofy and fun.
Right. Well, there's a guy back in the day. He was Screaming Norman or something. He would always scream. Do you remember that guy?
I vaguely remember him. Yes.
The guys would slap. He just screamed through the whole match like a girl, and it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen.
Oh yeah, Colt will slap a guy constantly, and
Yeah.
eventually the guy stops and goes, "Look over there!" He goes, "You know you're gonna get slapped, right?"
Nice. But no, I like that. A successful little sort of web venture.
It's proof that for anybody out there that runs a brand
Mhm.
that's in the business right now, or that's interested in dabbling in the space, or already there, this is a good primer for you that you don't have to have the brand really in your face to a point where it looks like just like a commercial. You can actually integrate your brand into a product or into a series and still have people remember it without actually having to really put it out there to the extreme. And this is a much more passive aggressive approach to it, and it works.
Right. Like I know with our show we've dabbled a bit with different ways to do it. One with the product placement, like in episode 3, where the BIP character was flying through the product on the shelves.
Yes.
That's sort of integrated into the show. We did that with Coors Light and Hobgoblin. But now with episode 4, we actually have just a straight ad. So it's a 20-second ad right in the middle of the show. I actually prefer that better because it's just easier for me. I don't have to write it into the show, and I don't have to shoot any extra footage. So, but I like the soft sell that's going on with what you're talking about.
I'm on the fence when it comes to putting an ad in your episode. I'm not really sure personally what my opinion is because I'm hot and cold on the issue.
Mm-hmm.
So at first glance, like what?
Right.
And then after a while, you eventually get used to it. But usually you get used to it with longer episodes.
Right.
One thing I've noticed on YouTube is there's designated, and it's also true on Blip, is there's designated spots on a really long video where it's going to be a commercial. So it actually gives you fair warning when you look at the stream at the bottom how much time's left in the video. There's a little line that gives you that warning that you're about to see a commercial.
Well, I know with a web series, especially with me, we don't have that much money, so they've got to be short. I can't make a 22-minute episode because that's going to cost a ton of money. So the most I can do with what I have is usually 5 minutes. Now, the rule of thumb generally is 3 minutes of content, I think, for every 1 minute of advertising when you actually look at it.
Okay.
That's on television. So I was thinking, well, why not? I'm going to have 5 minutes in there. Why not put one ad in there? And not like on television where it's going to be 60-second ad or 3-minute chunk of ads. 30 seconds. 30 seconds in one episode. Perhaps I might put 2 in. We'll see how it goes if I can get a second sponsor. But I'm just dabbling, trying to find a business model that works because not a lot of web series, I would say the majority, have any type of aren't making any money. They're not successful as a business.
I think there's also the learning curve aspect that, like when we were interviewing Matt Newcomb, that was his first show. It was I believe Hollywood Wasteland.
Sure.
And so that in that regard, like you gotta, I think that's something that you can. It's the ones that claim to be an expert before they've even watched the video on YouTube, that's when I say, oh, ooh, that's when the red flag comes up. But I think with a lot of us is that I think we're going to need to be judging shows on the creators on their second show, not the first. And that's really where you see if they learned anything.
But the show has to make money eventually.
It does. It does.
It has to be self-sustaining, right?
But Rich at Webseries Network had an interesting article a few months ago about shows starting with a very low budget and failing moderately.
Okay.
Meaning, so let's say you put $50, like in my case with Camp Bloody Beach, I paid a grand total of $200 for the entire thing for about 50 videos, which is pretty good value for money at the end of the day when it comes to how much I paid for it. But it was a learning curve. I failed in a lot of ways, succeeded in a few others, but more importantly, learned how to make a web series and how to craft one. And then Venus Spa spent a lot more money on it, and it became a lot more successful than the previous series. So you see where I'm going with this, is that if you start small, grow, learn how, and you got to grow up a bit in this space. You can't just come in and say, I'm a television guy and I can do anything and automatically guarantee you success in the web space. That's not going to happen.
Well, you have to have an audience, or there's no way you're going to make money.
You have to grow, is what it comes down to. You have to learn how to survive in the space. I mean, you can be a lurker for 3 years and then have a series and then learn from all of it and probably do pretty good. But you do have to grow into it and learn how to do it.
Yep.
And to see what's out there. I said this in the very first This Week in Web Series, is, in the first rule in film school, first thing the teacher tells you, watch the great ones. Watch the greats, the legends, and watch the stars of today. Same is true on the web. Watch The Guild. Watch Shane Dawson. Watch the Angry Video Game Nerd. Watch the Nostalgia Critic. Watch whatever genre you're into. Watch the Kings of the Mountain in that space and see how they do things. Read the comments. Look at Charles Trippy and Ali Speed, the Internet Killed Television, CTFXC. They're a reality show without the train wreck. But it's such a communal experience that, but you get what I mean. Like, all of these things have different things that you can learn from.
So they're doing something successful to find an audience.
Yes, and they're doing it, and not all of them are doing it the same, but it's what you, look at what you want to do, and then look at the best in the business at it, and the most successful people at it. And learn. It's like no different from wanting to be a horror director in film and watching Wes Craven or Clive Barker or Hitchcock.
Right.
You're learning from the great ones. Now, with comedy, you're learning, I don't know, Ivan Reitman or something like that. Or someone in that, or Judd Apatow, or someone or Kevin Smith, someone in that realm. Action directors, you're learning from, like, anyone from Spielberg to even Michael Bay. You can learn from his mistakes.
Now the only thing is because the web series is sort of like a new, form. It's there's sometimes really nowhere to look to sort of see what's working. Like for instance, with these ads I'm doing, it's like I don't really see anyone else doing what I'm doing.
Not necessarily in some ways they are, in some ways they're not. Like when you watch a video, if it's a long one, you see it.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the short one. That's one of those ones that's untested, and that one's going to be hard to really make whether it will sink or swim. Time will tell.
Right.
So you went for it. Read your comments. See what your audience has to say about it.
No one actually mentioned it.
Okay.
So which was good. Which is they just watched the show through, and that's what he's doing. But I did get a lot of comments when I did the product placement. People would say, "Well, I don't mind the product placement," and it was mentioned quite a bit. But this time around, no one mentioned it. So I'm hoping that's a good sign.
It's a double-edged sword. No news is good news. No news is bad news.
Right.
No news means nobody watched it, but if you see your view counts and your thumb ups, obviously someone watched it. So in that regard, when you get to the comments, no news is probably good news.
Yeah.
So I would look at that and always look at that and see where it takes you. I mean, for me with Venus, though, when we had fun facts for a long time. The second season had fun facts at the end of every episode. Old 80s pop culture facts.
Yep, I like those.
That one, I knew people that thought it was cool,
Yeah.
but then when we changed from fun facts to trivia questions, our comment number went straight up.
Sure.
People were jumping in trying to answer the trivia questions.
Well, because it's more interactive, right?
Yeah, and before that, one of the things that really got people going was when we would have hidden shout-outs. And people, like, in our, like, every so often we'd have cutaways of movie marquees, and we'd have our, you remember one where we had hockey one, Spell Furies versus something.
Yeah, it was cool.
During at the bar.
Yep.
You know, things like that. I mean, people notice that. And I know we can also integrate brands into that as well, and over time. And something that, it was a good experiment. But I noticed when things change, people reacted to it. And that's, in our case, we were fortunate enough to have people like it. So, that's, if they didn't like it, when the fun facts case, very few times people actually mentioned it.
Right.
So when we made another change, it was definitely noticed, and people saw it as a change for the better.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
So
you have to evolve and listen to your audience.
Now, in our case, in your case, because you have longer gaps between episodes, you probably have a much greater chance to notice these things. Now, in my case, everything was shot at the same time. Like, we shot Venus in 3.5 days over a 5-day period, and in all 3 of our seasons were shot like that. And basically, starting in the second season, just out of necessity, was because my editor only had so much time, we edited every week until the season was over. And then the third season, I did the same thing, me and my editor, and by the end, I was editing myself, actually. I finally started getting pretty good at it. And I just kept doing it, because I had reached a point where I was in a pattern, and I just stopped. It was a creature of habit, and just chose to keep doing it that way.
Sure.
But because of that meant we could add new shout-outs. We could react to, we have, like, who's leading in the trivia contest. We had a final standings at the end. We decided to make it a little bit more fun. But sometimes if people edit the whole thing right at the same time, you're not going to be able to benefit as much,
right,
unless you make extra content. Sorry.
Okay, do you want to go on some other topics?
Yeah, sure.
I'd like to talk about definitely YouTube. Is YouTube dead?
YouTube's not dead because people are still on it and people are still posting videos, but a lot of parts of it are dying. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if you folks have noticed this, but you can't see the tags anymore. Those have been removed. Or they're not removed because you can still make tags when you're uploading a video, but you don't see them anymore when they're public.
Right. Now, is that going to affect searching, like when people put in words at all, or what's going on with that?
Hard to say, but you were mentioning that some of the partners were getting angry that people were copying and pasting tags.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed it was on Google Plus about 5 months ago. A lot of bigger YouTube partners were very upset that people were copying the tags and finding a way to get ahead of the actual partners. So the fakers were getting more views than the actual people who made the video. So I sort of see this as an answer to stop that, but I don't know. I just don't like it.
It's a temporary measure. This is wishful thinking on my part, and being cautious and being optimistic. But I got a feeling they just wanted to stamp it out right away,
sure,
and then bring something new. Like, they finally fixed the subscription stream, where videos disappear after you've watched them. They were leaving them on there, so you have like 7 or 8 of the same videos for days on end,
right?
And anything else that was released that day, you didn't get to see, or you missed out on in your stream.
So that's fixed.
Now it's improved. It hasn't been fixed because you can't just delete it or click a box to get rid of it.
Yeah.
But it's improved. So
now honors, getting rid of honors really upsets me.
Honors have been dead since the new YouTube came out on the 7th of March.
Okay, yeah,
you can't add friends either. Those things
that's terrible. That's horrible. Why would they do such a thing?
They tried to integrate them, but I still get contact requests, but I don't see how you can do that. There's got to be people out there using the old YouTube somehow that are figuring out a way to do that. but I have Safari. I don't know how to do that. You gotta be a better techie than I am to pull that off.
Sure.
The honors are dead, and
so YouTube back in the day was a very exciting place where you could put up a video, and a human, like a YouTube editor, could go, "Oh, that's a great video," and post it on the main page of YouTube, and there was all these. It was very exciting. You could get 100,000 views in a day, easy.
With that, of course, today is there's 1,000 times more stuff.
Sure. Well, they had to stop that because they potentially could get sued by by having a human involved. You can get sued if the copyrights weren't perfect or
that and cries of favoritism.
Yeah. But again, we had so many tools back then. We had bulletins where I could just put a little status message to go out to all my subscribers. Or sorry, not to all my friends. Go to all my friends, all my subscribers, and you'd have this scrolling thing of it was live, and you could just talk to people, and you could really get people excited about your videos, and you could watch other people's stuff. It's gone. So what they're trying to do is strip the social network, it seems, out of YouTube, and take away all our tools to actually reach the audience.
The other end of this, that I don't know if this is a good thing or if this is even worse, but it appears as they're trying to integrate it all into Google Plus and mix them together the way you can put videos up on Facebook.
Yeah, and really Google Plus, I've got 5,000 people following me, but the conversations they're sparse. Now Facebook, I'm talking to people all the time. There's lots of comments, lots of activity. But at first, when at Google Plus, there was a lot of conversations. But now it's just people who are into tech, and really not too much going on. I do love it. I love the place. I'll do Google Hangouts with fans and friends, but
it seems a natural place for those who have Google Chrome.
Yeah, well, if you're signed in, they just want to integrate all the products together.
Yeah. If you don't have Chrome, you don't get the natural notifications that you would get. Or I'm not sure how that works personally.
But where can a creator go and really build an audience, like you could have back in the day on YouTube? Is there a spot?
Facebook's a possible challenger because there was reports a while back. I don't know who. I know TubeFilter touched on it briefly, and a few other places did as well. That Facebook was the fastest growing video portal in the business, and it wasn't even in the video business.
My only problem is they don't show the views. So you don't really know who's watching the video, how long they're watching it. You're not getting the stats that you're getting on YouTube.
That's because Facebook doesn't really make it a priority. It's just an option, mostly for people to put videos of their kids at Disneyland, kind of thing.
Sure.
That's generally how it's done. Now, other people are using it to get other people to watch their shows, but it's not something that's organized enough to be a major player yet. But it seems to me that the potential is there for it to become a major player, if for no other reason than just how massive Facebook is.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I do promote my videos on Facebook a lot. Where back in the day, I'd spend an awful lot of time on YouTube just talking to people, and I still do have that. When I release a video, I get a lot of discussions, and I love it. But we've discussed Dailymotion or Vimeo, like Metacafe, all these. There's really there's no one that's doing it right.
Well, no one that's a legit player.
Yeah.
I think you've mentioned this before. Is the tools at Vimeo are there, but it's just it's an art community by design.
Yeah.
And which is fine. It is what it is, and it's there if you need it. But it's not something that is overly commercial to the degree that YouTube is. The tools are there.
Yeah.
But that's about it right now.
Yeah, there's no audience, so
there'd have to be a big shift in focus, I think, in order for that to become a player. Or YouTube really crosses the line and sends people there, and the people just flock to it just because it's there.
For instance, if they got rid of subscribers, that would be the last straw.
And that it would be the last straw for a big chunk, yeah. For me, the last straw would be the end of, if it went Hulu and said the end of user generated content. If you want to post a video, you got to pitch it to us first. If you do, if it comes to that, then everybody will say screw them and go elsewhere.
And we wouldn't have a choice.
Yeah, and Vimeo would probably be a natural landing spot for a lot of people just because it has the features.
Yeah, it does seem. I've been spending a little bit more time there, and yeah, it has all the old friend requests, and you can just.
That's cool.
It's great for the community, but just the problem is there's no community there right now. And if there is, they're into cameras and sort of art, and they're people would say that they're snobby of it. I wouldn't. I know a few people.
It's the art community. You're gonna get that element. It exists.
Right. I see YouTube as sort of trying to squeeze people to just get money out of them to advertise, and Facebook's doing that too. Where earlier on, at the beginning of YouTube and Facebook, it wasn't so much about the money; it was building the audience up, and then you squeeze them for money.
Ever since they went public, is the shareholders want to get rid of Zuckerberg.
Right. Yeah, because they're low. It's like under $20 the last time I checked.
I've said this a number of times in various places over the years, and that is, if your business is entertainment and you go public, you better sell it all off and leave, because it is not going to end well. Because the minute entertainment becomes a democracy, you're screwed. I watched this happen with Playboy when they went public. Hugh Hefner lost complete control of his empire, and it just went so cheap and low end that it just got to a point where it was out and out sleazy, and lost a good chunk of their viewership, because what they were offering was high-end content. That's what they were promoting all the years that Hefner ran the empire. Recently he's gotten back to that because he finally bought the empire back, but he's 86 years old and he's running out of years in which he's going to be a relevant player at his own empire. But the damage has been done. They almost went under several times. They're down to 11 issues a month. Again, that was a shareholder initiative there, and that was another death now. It happened with Time Warner. Look what happened to Turner. He went from being a trailblazing news creator, a mogul, to just being an employee. And CNN has suffered for years because of that. His other networks suffered as well. He also lost his wrestling company as a result of that, because the shareholders didn't want wrestling on their television networks and cut. He had no say in that. The minute you go public, you are now putting your company in the hands of other people, and shareholders are gamblers. All right, let's be perfectly honest. The stock market is gambling. I could put all my money on 21 Red in Vegas and have the same success rate as I would speculating the markets on Wall Street. There's a reason why there was a Occupy Wall Street movement, because it's a joke. Zuckerberg made a massive mistake. I mean, how much more money do you need? And what is the real cost of getting that money? And if the cost is losing control of what you do and what makes it what it was, that's a higher cost. It's going to destroy your brand.
Sure.
And we've seen it in the web space, guys that have made bad deals and have destroyed their brand. And I'm not going to name them because there's so many. Felicia Day is one of those cases where she didn't destroy her brand. She held out for a good deal. And I think that we can do that. That's what you can learn from that. If you learn nothing else from her or anybody else in the web spaces, hold out for a good one, because the extra money is not going to fix your broken brand if you made a bad deal.
Right. Now, okay, so let's switch gears to crowdsourcing. So we've seen a few shows like Agent 88, Shelf Life, raising money for their shows. Do you have any thoughts about web series and crowdsourcing?
Crowdsourcing is a good idea, but understand that you signed a contract with your audience the minute you do it. One good example of someone who didn't understand that was Vampire Mob. They raised money to make a second season of Vampire Mob. Okay, they got their money, they made it happen. but then they canceled it mid-season, meaning they stopped putting out episodes after like the third or fourth or something like that. And you know what? The people that gave you money to make the show didn't sign up for that. You know, it doesn't matter if you didn't get the viewership that you expected out of the season. The people that paid you money expect to see something for it. And if you're in, that's one thing you have to understand. You have to treat your donors, if for lack of a better word, as investors. You know, there may not be a physical obligation, but there's a moral obligation to deliver on what you promise.
Now, did they hit their goal? Did they have a certain goal? And
Yes, they did.
What?
As far as yes, they did.
Do you know what it was at all?
I don't remember the money total. I know it was in the thousands, but I don't know if it was high or low thousands.
Did they give a reason for not continuing?
From what I understand, from what I read in his blogs were always all over the place. But Joe basically said we're not getting the viewership, so it's being canceled.
Yeah, but you can't be canceled though because it's a web series. TV gets canceled.
I know, you know that.
Right.
The average person knows that. But that bugged me, and that always bugged me when that happened because we clearly got funding for a project. And people paid because people are buying into something, buying into an idea, and they're believing in it. And if you don't deliver what they thought they were getting, you have to spell it out. That's another thing. Spell out exactly what you're doing, and also spell out exactly what you need, and list it, and deliver on it, and nothing bad will happen. But people will feel cheated otherwise.
Hey, Chris, would you mind shifting to your right just a bit? You're going right into my little screen on here.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
So, what about something like Agent 88? They hadn't done any episodes, but it looks like they'd spent some money and started to do like a pilot for a web series. Did you look into it?
That works.
Yeah.
You know what? Whatever you can do to give people an inkling of what you're capable of, especially if you're starting at ground zero. You're starting this your first show. You have no fans because you haven't gotten any. You don't have any episodes. You don't have any this or that. You're going to start at zero unless you're an established star and you have a fan base going in, or established name and you have a fan base. But generally, you're coming in there without a fan base, without anything more than your idea.
Yeah.
So if anything that can project that idea, promote that idea, and show people that you have the talent to make it work, is a good thing. If you're capable, if you have the money or you have the equipment. If you have no equipment, well, it's going to be tough. Let's be honest. There's no nice way of saying it. It's going to be hard to get people to believe in what you're doing if you can't show them something.
Sure.
But you're dealing with the general public now. You're not just dealing with people close to you. So that's definitely a huge plus. If you can make any kind of sizzle reel demo, if you have an actor's demo, put that out there too. Anything that shows people that you are capable of doing what you're telling them that you want to do.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like I know I did one Indiegogo campaign about a year and a half ago. And I was just dabbling with it. I didn't really spend too much time planning it. But I think we might do another one just to try to help raise funds to finish Season 2. Because things are getting pricey, expensive. Oh, speaking of, working on this little fella here. He's a little baby dragon for the show. And he blinks.
Sweet.
So I just have to build the sort of eyelids there, and I was trying to build the mouth today. But yeah, these things, I want to put more puppets on the show, and they cost, hundreds and hundreds of dollars to make, eventually when it's all said and done. But I've got big plans, so I'm thinking to do another campaign. I hopefully do better. I raised a little bit of money last time, but I'm going to really take this serious and try to, do it again. But
you should have, as a suggestion, you should bring Durinia into it.
Yes.
Your lead character into it as well, to really give people the interaction with the actual show itself.
Yeah, you mentioned that before. Now, Druinia or Julie? Like, should it be?
Sure, either. Something that adds to it and gives people a little bit more of the actual connection with the show as much as possible.
Right, like have like Druidia swinging the sword, fighting a Grok, and all of a sudden stop and then talk to the audience.
Yeah,
about
that'd be epic. That'd be great. Go for it.
That's a good. That's a good idea, man.
It's got your first one.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
So, yeah, go for it. I mean, anything that works on that level.
Sure.
Is one thing I noticed this recently. Lately I've been fiddling with my Steadicam here.
Yep. That
I just built. And I went out driving through downtown Winnipeg and put an Eagles song on there as a background. And a couple of our fans said, well, where's the stars that you come to see? This looks cool, but where are they? So that happened to me.
Right.
And so that said, maybe the cast, if we do more videos for Venus or Venus-related stuff, should be the ones anchoring the video and not me.
Right.
Because historically, people have never come to see me.
Like, if the show 24 was doing an Indiegogo campaign, would you give more money to see the producer talk on camera or Kiefer? Who's going to raise more money?
Yeah, and a lot of producers in television these days don't understand that.
Right.
So it's best to figure it out before they do.
Right. Yeah, well, I obviously didn't get it because I was sort of the spokesperson for the campaign through the whole thing, and perhaps it should have been more the actors that the audience is watching to do it.
Maybe. It depends. You have more of a rapport with your audience than I do with mine. I've made it a rule to never appear on camera. So it's probably a bigger shocker for people to see something done by me and not the show. So in my case, I position myself differently. In your case, you've been visible throughout the history of the T-Bone Beerson channel.
Yeah.
So your viewership and your audience knows you better. So you appearing is going to be par for the course, and people aren't going to be as taken aback by it as if I do it.
Sure.
But it would certainly help to bring Julie in as a face of the show, because she is the lead character of Spellfury.
Yeah,
if she's available, I would definitely give it a shot. I think it would certainly enhance it. It wouldn't hurt.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And one thing you mentioned that we could talk about is there's I guess a post on Webseries Network about something about shows going to Canada to die or something, or being dumped in Canada. What's going on with that?
Yeah, I think you'd have to ask Rich that one, because the article is kind of vague. He talks about how American production companies, it's mostly big media, just drop shows in Canada or sell them to Rogers or whatever. Up here, Rogers being our biggest communication baron in the nation. And the only one I remember that was dumped here was Prom Queen.
Right, that's now the production company was Vugaru, I believe, or something?
It was Vugaru and Big Fantastic as a dual production. It was basically a content exchange. That was a dumping. That certainly lives up to what Rich was talking about, but that was 3 years ago.
Right.
It cratered Big Fantastic, but it didn't have. I didn't really see it as much of a trend because I don't go to Rogers to watch my web shows.
Right.
If it's geo-blocked, I have a saying: geo-blocked, screw them. I say that every time, and it's not a broken record. But anytime something's geo-blocked, I move on.
Same with me. Yeah.
And so I don't really notice it. It caused a lot of controversy among Canadian creators. And asking why there's so many Canadian shows is because it's hard. It's almost impossible to get on television here because there's so few outlets.
Right. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, and it's and what they do ask for on television, if you're like when you're dealing with CBC, you got to have the beaver, you got to have a flag here, you got to have this, you got to have that. It's very difficult because we Canadians, we're like everyone else. We're people. We don't have a beaver running around in our, we're not eating blubber, we're not any of that stuff. Like, there's no igloo on my balcony. I mean, we're just people, and we have our own things. Like, I've said this before in my interview on Indie Intertube, and I was, watch a show like Trailer Park Boys. You see Canadian culture, and it's not shoved down your throat. You just see them living in Halifax, or just or in Nova Scotia, and you're walking into something's world on its own terms. And I think with creators that aren't getting government grants and aren't, are just doing it independently, you're seeing, most people can tell if it's Canadian just because you're seeing a bit of the culture in our shows without really having it shoved down their throats. And that's a good thing.
Right.
But as for shows that are being dumped here from American producers...
Well, besides Prom... What is it? Prom Life?
Prom Queen.
Prom Queen. Besides that, is there a track record of other shows being put on Rogers?
I don't know. I don't follow it. I'm wondering if Rich just did that to get conversations going on his channel.
Hey, we're talking about it, so...
Yeah, so obviously mission accomplished there. And, he does what he does well. And but yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's not a big issue to me because I make shows in Winnipeg and I'm perfectly fine with it. And I promote Winnipeg whenever I have something. I make sure there's something of Winnipeg in everything I do. Like jet logos are going to be found all over the place. Like, oh, speaking of which,
there you go.
Jet beer bottle. Things like that. But I don't really, I would make references to stores that were popular here, but that's for locals. But it's something that I just do because I'm from here, and you write what you know.
Sure.
But I don't find the need to really shove where I come from down people's throats. I'm just proud of it, and I'm open about it.
Sure. Now, since we've talked, you're no longer in the IAW TV. Is this correct?
I don't want to get into that.
Okay. I'll move on from there. What about the Streamies coming up? The big event?
Well,
excited?
Feel these nipples.
They're hard, are they? Yeah. Well,
I wouldn't.
No. Well, the last Streamies, if people don't know, was a bit of a mess, and the IWTV was the voting body. They split apart, became their own sort of thing, and they have their awards now. And now we've got the Streamies. We haven't seen them in a while, and they're back. Are they going to be classy this time? Chris wants to say something. Chris wants to...
I want to say something, but I can't get the words out because I don't know what to say about it, one way or the other.
Well, I'll tell you what I sort of don't like already is it's $125 to submit per category. And for web series creators, really? Come on. Don't make the money off the actual web series producers.
You could buy a Google ad for that.
What's that?
You could buy a Google ad for that kind of money and get views.
Yeah, what? Or you get that pays for a costume or something on the show. I'm really? It seems very pricey. You can spend $400 and then submit to a whole bunch of categories, but really $400 for this. For these awards.
It's the webbies are just as bad. $200 a category.
Right. It's too pricey.
And a lot of people get it, and web series creators hate that too. And so I can't see them liking this any better.
I think it's going to be a judging panel. Hopefully, it's people who are actually going to give the shows a fair shake, and not just vote based on. What's that? No?
I'm not betting money on that.
Because I know you've expressed it, and I think I've said it too. Is with the IEWTV, a lot of them are based in LA, and they all know each other, and therefore vote for each other.
They have to face the mixers.
Right? Yeah.
Or want to work for.
Exactly. So, and we get that, but for outsiders, you're not going to win an award. You might, but it's tough. So I do like the fact that it is a judging panel. I'm hoping we get some fair and honest people who actually judge web series on the work itself, which would be nice.
My take on the Streamies is that the first one was all about the celebrities and the people that had half a line that were getting nominated because they were stars in other media. Like I remember Lisa Kudrow it wasn't. Well, she was bad too, but. Was it Eva Longoria got a nomination for saying exactly 5 words on camera?
Right.
I mean, I'm sure even she had to be embarrassed by that because that just seemed desperate. Right. The second one was just a complete train wreck, maybe the worst train wreck in award show history. I'm counting the 82 Golden Globes in that one, and that was the gold standard for the worst award show of all time.
Okay.
that was the Pia Zadora winning a Best Actress Golden Globe for a movie that hadn't been released.
Okay.
SCTV did a brilliant parody of that show. Absolutely brilliant. But anyway, my take on it is that just based on the way that they released the press releases that Tube Filter posted on their as one of their articles, and what the Streamies have been doing, because they're run by the same people, so you're going to get relatively similar articles in various outlets, is that I think they're going to go for the celebrities. It's going to be they're going to try to make this a star-studded show. It's a reboot. They're trying to save what is essentially a dead brand, and they're going to pull all the stops on that one. I don't think the Bubble's going to really be a big player in this either. I don't think Outsiders are going to be a player. I don't think the Bubble's going to be a player. I think you're going to see some big-time YouTubers and a whole lot of television and movie stars.
Okay, so to
get that. Which, well, they've never exactly hidden that's what they're into. They're essentially entertainment writers, and that comes with the territory, whether anyone likes it or not. And that's basically what you're getting. And as long as you know that going in and don't feel cheated when it's over, I'm not a fan of it. I just accept it. That's how they've always existed. Take them or leave them.
Sure. Okay. Any other topics you'd like to discuss before we wrap up?
Another good show to check out is a little show called The Haunting of the Sunshine Girl. That one has become, we were talking about this in previous installments, is like Lonely Girl 15 and its impact on the web space. And Haunting of the Sunshine Girl is really in the same tradition as LG15. Except it's been the same girl all throughout the history of this project. The character's name's Sunshine. And she's big into the paranormal. So she's always looking for ghosts and haunted houses. And she'll find things, and they turn up the intensity. She'll find ghosts, or ghosts will find her.
Cool.
And she'll have fans vote on whether she should talk to certain people that are kind of creepy, and it goes from there. And she's not always nice. She can be a little bit sour. She can, she is it's an interesting character. It's a very human personality. And it resonates with an audience, and they draw. She makes videos almost every day, and they all seem to get in the 10,000 plus range when it's over.
Wow, that's good.
Great fan base. I don't even know where she's based. She tends to go all over the place for these things.
Okay. Oh, I'd like to say there's a show. It's like a pilot of a show he wants to do, or a film. It's called Girl in the Window.
Okay.
And it's a guy, I think he's based in Texas. And he's sort of like low-budget effects, puppets, and using a potato for an asteroid, and really creative guy. I think he has a Indiegogo campaign going on right now, so I think it's look on YouTube for Girl in the Window, and I was really impressed by his little demo reel for the show.
Cool.
But yeah, anyways, so what now? Tell us about Venus Spa. Is there going to be any new episodes at any point? What's happening with that brand?
Venus is, I would say, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet. We've had 3 seasons, and it's reaching a point where I'm more or less writing the same scenarios. We had a tradition of a new 4th wheel every year.
Yep.
Like we had a new girl the first season, and a new girl in the second, and a new one in the third.
Yep.
And it's reaching a point where it feels like we're starting over every season. And that's kind of getting to a point where I'm getting in a bit of a rut with that. But we've also lost a few cast members to travel. Like a couple have moved to Toronto, and that means that it's hard to really say what we want to do with it. I definitely want to spin it off into something new. And I've got a lot of neat ideas. I want to have an idea of having it like a Baywatch Nights, after being the Baywatch of the web, turning the Baywatch Nights of the web.
That could work.
If you remember this, it was Hasselhoff as a private detective when it wasn't which was so bad it was good. I'm sorry, guys. I can't hate Hasselhoff. I'm sorry.
The Hoff, yeah.
Don't hassle the Hoff.
Okay. And now, where can people find you if they want to ask you a question or see what you're up to?
I have a new channel with some new videos with some new ideas that I'm working on, and that is youtube.com/superfunky2012.
Okay.
SUPERFUNKY 2012. And then the flagship, as always, is youtube.com/watchvenusspa.
Excellent. Okay, and people can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/ I guess T-Bone Pearson. Is it user / T-Bone Pearson or just?
You can just have youtube.com/T-Bone Pearson.
Okay.
And people will find you just as easy.
Yes, and also you can find me on Twitter at Travis Gordon, or on Facebook. I got a few accounts there.
And for me on Twitter, look for twitter.com/ChadMediaTeam.
There we go. Cool.
That's
All right. So there is our first episode in 6 months. It was great talking to you today, and I will. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.